In secondary school, I was tormented by a specific bully. For years, I was beaten up and publicly humiliated on a daily basis. The worst thing he did was beat me up so bad that I got a concussion and broken ribs when I was 14. He never faced consequences in school because his family was rich and he was pretty popular. For context, I live in a pretty small town in England, so everyone knows everyone, including the bully. He left the school when I was 17 and I didn't see him for about a year. Around this time, I got way more popular and started going to parties and making more friends. And annoyingly, he was friends with some of my friends and his GF was at my school, but I managed to avoid him mostly until I finished school. Unfortunately, I saw him a few months later. My friends went to the pub to celebrate our exam results, and he was a complete asshole to me, started insulting me and mocking me to my friends, saying, "Why do you hang out with me?" Bringing up a bunch of stuff from years ago, and at one point put me in a headlock and told me that my friends only hung out with me out of pity. I wasn't going to take it, but I also wasn't going to get into a punch-up because I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of getting me angry. And right at that moment, I overheard the perfect thing. He was bragging to his friends about the house party he was having and saying about all the drugs he was going to take to the party, and said he had it all in his car. It wasn't just a bit of weed either. If I remember correctly, he said he had 13 bags of coke, about 30 pills of MDMA, and 7 or 8 grams of ketamine. And then I knew what I would do for my revenge on the guy. As he was leaving, I followed him to his car and took a photo of his number plate. Then, after he was driving off, I walked off and called the police. I knew they needed something more than hearsay to stop the car, especially because I didn't want to be traced back to it, so I told the police I saw my bully snorting a white powder in the pub toilets. This was a complete fabrication. And then get into the driver's side of the car. I then provided them with the license plate of the car and told them the direction they were heading in. I honestly didn't think they were going to stop him, or maybe they would ask him questions later and ruin his party, but the driving on drugs allegation plus the fact he had been arrested for minor possession before, which I didn't know at the time, was enough for the police to take it seriously and stop and search his car, which they found all the drugs he was transporting to his party, and he got arrested for it. The consequences of his arrest meant he lost out on his university place. His rich parents had enough of his behavior, so kicked him out and cut him off from their funds. And a rumor I heard was that in turn for a lower sentence, my bully ratted out his supplier, which resulted in him getting stabbed multiple times, and as a consequence of that now has to wear a colostomy bag, and that plus his criminal record means he is currently unemployed. I called the police on my former bully, which started a domino effect that resulted in him losing his opportunity to go to university, a criminal record, getting stabbed, and now the shitbag has to have a literal bag of shit strapped to him. In addition to this, I also can see the bully being in and out of jail for all of his life, because people like him never learn from their mistakes. And it, in the long term, affects his employability, especially if he had prior convictions. It takes a long time to get over being bullied. But what helps is when you know that the bully's life turns to shit, especially if you had a hand in it.